phone. As long as you stay on the phone, we have quorum. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Sophie.
Thank you.
Mateo's with us as well. Okay,
Oh,
I think we're good to
great.
go.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you, Mateo. Okay, everybody. Good morning. And thank you so much for taking the time this morning to join us at our ADDPC Full Council meeting. I will call our meeting to order at 10:04 a.m. Marcy, would you like to do welcome and introductions, please?
Sure, and I'm going to pass this on next time to somebody else.
Okay, you can throw it to John. That's okay,
No,
or anybody you like.
okay, just be aware, I'm telling other staff. Monica Cooper.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Bianca.
Health advocate, sorry.
Oh, thank you, Monica. Sorry about that. Bianca. She's on mute. Bianca. Okay, I'm going to move on. Jana.
Good morning, I'm here.
Thank you. Melissa.
Good morning, Melissa Van Hook, Council Chair, parent of 2 children with developmental disabilities, as well as Chair for the Meaningful Careers Committee.
Vijette.
Good morning, I'm here.
Thank you. Kathy.
Good morning. I'm
Thank
here.
you. Thank you. Raina.
Good morning, Raina Sims.
Okay. Jeff.
Jeff Studer, President accounted for.
Thank you, Jeff. Kristen.
Good morning, everyone. Kristen Mackey.
Thank you, Kristen. Mary.
Good morning, Mary Slaughter here.
Sure. Gabby.
Good morning, everyone. Here.
Thank you. Mateo.
Good morning. I am here.
Thank you, Mateo. Sophie.
Sophie, congratulations, John. I am my award. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sophie. And Bianca, if you hear us,
Hi, apologies. I'm here.
no worries. Okay. Any other council members that I did not get a chance to find or call for?
It looks like JC has joined us.
Yes, I'm here. Apologies for another meeting ran late.
Thanks for being here.
Okay, JC. And I'll keep checking, and then let me go to staff before we go to guests. So John.
Good morning, John Myers, Executive Director.
Sarah.
Sarah Rue, Communications Director. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Jason.
Good morning, everyone. Jason Sneed, Research and Communication Specialist.
Thank you, Jason. Lonnie.
Lonnie Saints here, Fiscal Manager. Good morning.
And Michael.
Michael Leba, Contracts and Grants Coordinator. Good morning, everyone.
Okay, great. And I'm Marcy Crane. And then we have a number of guests here. So I'm going to go through quickly what I see. Lindsay Powers.
Hi, Lindsay Powers with Rehabilitation Services Administration.
Thank you, Lindsay. Brittany Chipley.
Brittany Shipley, AZ Able Executive Director.
Thank you. Jenny. Is it Haggerty?
Jenny. Hi, I'm Jenny Haggerty. I'm here with the State of the States Project of National Significance with the Data Ambassadors.
Thank you, Jenny. Gloria.
Hello, I'm Gloria Gans. I'm the program lead for the Data Ambassador program and here for Jenny.
Thank you, Gloria. Justin.
Hi, everybody. Justin Harris. I'm with the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, formerly with Division of Developmental Disabilities, here to just listen in and help where I can.
Great, thank you. Shia Tanis.
Hi, Shay Tanis. I am the PI on the State of the States Project of National Significance, and again, here to support our data ambassador, Jenny, and answer any questions that the council may have as a PNS partner.
Thank you, Shay. Stephanie Johnson.
Hello, good morning. Stephanie Johnson, Strategic Initiatives Manager with the Rehabilitation Services Administration. Thank you.
Thank you. And Courtney. Courtney Lundberg is on mute. Okay, anybody else? Here.
I
that
think you got everybody, I think.
Back to you, Melissa.
Okay, Marcy, thank you so much. And I'll make sure next time I ask somebody else to do roll call. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to agenda item B, our minutes review and approval from our March 27th, 2026 full council meeting. I hope that all council, Courtney Lundberg microphone is not working, but she says she is a nursing student at NAU. Courtney, thank you for joining us this morning. Okay, back to agenda item B with our minutes review on March 27th. I hope you council members have all had the opportunity to read and review the minutes. Before I call for a motion to approve the minutes, are there any comments or corrections that need to be made? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to call for a motion to approve the minutes as written from the ADDPC Full Council meeting of March 27, 2026. Do I have a motion to approve?
This is Vijette, so moved.
Thank you, Vijette. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Monica, thank you so much. All those in favor of approval, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. Is anyone not voting? Okay, motion carries. Thank you so much. Agenda item C, our fiscal contract update with Lonnie, our fiscal manager.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you, John, for sharing screen. So starting off, the council has received a total allotment of $1,500,684 for fiscal year 2024. The obligation period was through September 30th of 2025. The council has fully obligated the funds. The council requested and received a no-cost extension for the project period, which now runs through the end of this September. There's approximately $3,088 remaining to be liquidated by the end of September. The council has received a total allotment for fiscal year 2025 in the amount of $1,497,106. The obligation and project periods are through September 30th of this year as well. The council has fully obligated these funds, and there's approximately $266,389 remaining to be liquidated. We were initially told not to anticipate a no-cost extension for these funds. However, we found out earlier this week that we do have the opportunity to ask for a no-cost extension. We may not need to, but if we do, we have until the end of next month. And this will just extend the project period. It will allow us more time to complete the work. The obligation and liquidation period still remain the same. And finally, the council has received a second allotment for fiscal year 2026 in the amount of $987,002. This brings the current fiscal year 2026 total to $1,487,156, which is approximately $10,000 less than the prior year. However, we may receive a final allotment if the contingency set aside is not tapped into later this year. So we'll see what happens with that. The obligation and project periods are through September 30th of 2027. The liquidation period is through September 30th of 2028. And these funds will be used primarily for 2027 projects. Any questions on this sheet? Okay, moving on to the next one. This just lists out the council-funded projects. All the new and continuing projects are currently reflected. Nothing to really highlight on this sheet. Any questions? Okay, moving on to the final sheet. This sheet has been updated to reflect the projects outlined in the fiscal year 2027 work plan, as well as projects that may move forward as part of the new 5-year state plan. Just remember that the funding year is the year prior to the project year. So for fiscal year 26, you're looking at projects to be completed in 2027. And so 27 funds would be projects to be completed in 2028. So it's very forward focused. The items highlighted in yellow are projects to be voted on later on in the agenda. And just keep in mind that this sheet is really fluid at the moment as we continue to refine and finalize the 2027 work plan and the projects moving forward. So expect some changes until final determinations are made. Any questions on this sheet? Okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, Lonnie, thank you so very much for that thorough update. Moving on to agenda item D, our executive director report with John Myers.
All right. Good morning again, everyone. Thanks very much for making the time to be with us this morning. I'll go through as quickly as I can because I know we have a very packed agenda. The notice of award that Lonnie mentioned, as you can see, it is lower than the amount we received last year, the amount we received the year before. A couple of reasons for that. Again, as Lonnie mentioned, for the first time, at least while I've been with the council, ACL is actually holding back a certain amount of money or letting us know that they're holding back a certain amount of money just in case they need it for administrative costs. They are allowed to do this. It's within their purview. It's within the scope of their authority. They just haven't done that explicitly in the past. So this year they are. If they don't use that money, it's an additional 10,000 or so that will come to us at the end of the fiscal year. The problem with that, or one of the problems with that, is that we are then put in a bit of a bind as to how to use that money in a short period of time. But we're pondering how we could do that. It isn't a huge amount of money, so it shouldn't create too much of an issue for us. But I just want to explain that's why the dollar difference in the notice of award between last year and the year before. I would also mention that we have received, and this touches on the fiscal year 27 federal budget as well. We received what they're terming level funding for this year, and they are the House of Representatives and the particular committee that oversees funding for DD Act programs is recommending level funding again for fiscal year 27. Now, we all know that inflation eats into our buying power. We all know that inflation actually reduces any so-called level funding that we receive regardless of the program. So the reality is that even if we receive the same amount next year that we received this year, it's not going to go as far. And in fact, the NACDD board recently, I was part of a project to do an analysis of how funding has sort of been eaten away for DE councils across the country over the last 10 years. And in reality, if our funding had kept pace with inflation since 2017, our annual allocation right now should be about $1.9 million rather than $1.5 million. So they are telling us that we're getting level funding, but again, the reality is that our dollars do not go as far. We are fortunate in that, we have Lonnie, we have Marcy, we have staff who really look out for the money we receive and how we spend it. Our grantees are always very efficient, very effective with the grants they receive. Other states are not as fortunate. Some are receiving less on an annual basis or receiving level on an annual basis, and it isn't going as far. And there have been some councils that have even had to lay off staff as a result of changes in their federal formula and federal funding. So we're fortunate, but it certainly wouldn't hurt if we were able to keep pace with inflation. It doesn't look like that's likely in the next year, but perhaps we can keep our fingers crossed and one day that will be so. Otherwise, there is no news on the federal budget except that we've been recommended for the same level of funding that we got this year. And ultimately, we expect that that will carry through. There's never been any reason to believe that it wouldn't if it was proposed by the House committee that oversees these programs. And the only big question I think remaining is whether a federal budget will actually be in place by October 1st of this year. It's not something we've become accustomed to. We've become very accustomed to continuing resolutions. And, if that's what we see again come October, then we'll have a different conversation about where we stand. but it looks like we're okay, at least for the time being. I just want to touch really quickly on the fiscal 27 annual work plan. We're going to talk in more detail about this a few minutes from now, but I wanted to let you know that we are done with all of the work necessary for the 5-year state plan that needs to be submitted, and we are finalizing the 1-year annual work plan that has to go in. All of that has to go in by August 15th of this year. There are, as we go through the work plan in a few minutes, you'll see there are some areas where we still have a few questions. As far as the state plan is concerned, we have really just, I refer to it as the back office stuff. We have the forms we need to fill out. We have some data we need to input, but all of that is work that's been provided to us or that we have in hand. We contracted with the Institute for Human Development to do most of our comprehensive review and analysis preparation, to do a bunch of other work related to the 5-year state plan. All of that has been provided to us. It was all shared with you back in March, so everything's good to go on that. The only things that really remain are, again, those forms that need to be filled out. At the time we presented that to you, we didn't have the template that's required for us to fill in that information. That has subsequently been provided to us. So we're very much on schedule with getting all of that work done, and we should have no problem at all getting everything submitted by August 15th. I want to touch really quickly on an issue that we've been talking about for quite a while, actually since October, actually earlier maybe than October of last year. And that is around some changes that are being made at Access and at the Division of Developmental Disabilities related to assessment for services and assessment for service hours for primarily the pediatric or the birth to age 17 population. There are some eligibility changes that are taking place as well. We've tried to provide you as much detail as we can on these things. Some of you are probably enmeshed in these things on a daily basis. Right now, we don't have a whole lot more information to share with you. We do know that Access has provided to the Governor's Regulatory Review Committee its final version of a plan that it wants to put in place to change these assessment and eligibility standards, starting whenever the GRRC approves it and it is able to be implemented by Access to reiterate what has been said in the past. All of this came out of the DDD supplemental funding issue that was dealt with in 2025. But in order to get the supplemental funding passed, the legislature required that Access and DDD make some changes to tighten up some of their assessment and eligibility standards. And we're still dealing with it a year down the road. There was an initial action that took effect on October 1st of last year, but then it was rescinded in the middle of October, and additional work needed to be done. All of that work continues, and until the GRRC is able to give its stamp of approval, nothing new is going to be put into place. But, well, I shouldn't say but. As of yesterday, Access was not able to say specifically when those changes will take effect. They reiterated that the Regulatory Review Committee has to take a look at it. But even after that, they don't know exactly how long it will take to put everything in place. We'll keep you updated as we know anything. Some of you may find out sooner than we do. But what we do know is that these changes are going to affect primarily the birth to age 17 population. They are going to probably result in reduced hours and reduced services for a large number of Altex members. It's not going to make everybody happy, but once again, this was a requirement the legislature put on that supplemental funding last year. And because of the numerous changes that are taking place at the federal level around funding, particularly under HR 1, there's really almost no choice. We're going to see reductions in federal funding coming to the state. We're going to see reductions. We're already going to see reductions in state funding for certain safety net programs. And in all likelihood, these changes, in order to keep the system sustainable, these and probably other changes are going to have to take effect just to keep the system afloat. So that's probably not a very satisfying explanation for anybody. but we are facing a different reality today than we faced a year ago. And so we just have to, I think, do the very best with what we can and try to mitigate the worst of the damage that could be done by this. I know that Access and DDD staff are in fact trying to do exactly that. They're trying to make sure that as many members as possible get the greatest degree of service to which they're entitled. And so much remains uncertain, and we will have to see how it plays out. There have been some big changes at the Department of Education, the Federal Department of Education recently. This has been in the news. You've probably all heard about it, but I'll reiterate just in case you haven't. The Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services, as of about a week and a half ago, was slated to be moved from the Department of Education into the Department of Health and Human Services. That means all special education programs, all VR programs will move from the Department of Ed to HHS. At the same time, the Office of Civil Rights, which historically has been located in the Department of Education, is now slated to move to the Department of Justice. Why does this matter? Well, it matters because historically, OSERS and OCR have worked very closely together to safeguard the rights of students with disabilities, and they have worked hand in hand. They've been within the same department, and there's been a lot of collaboration. There are concerns within the disability community that moving them into different federal departments could silo them, in effect, could make it less likely that they will have opportunities to collaborate as closely as they have historically. It remains to be seen. I can tell you that there was a national call-in day yesterday to try and educate members of Congress on the potential damage of making these moves, to try and reinforce the feeling of disability advocates, individuals with disabilities, caregivers, that they want to see these programs remain together and they want to see them remain in the Department of Education. I don't want to say categorically that train has left the station, but it does not appear that Congress has a large appetite for dealing with this right now. And so it is, I would say, likely that these changes are going to take place and are going to take place in the very near future. We will, once again, have to wait and see what comes out of it. Our folks at NACDD, the National Association of Councils on Developmental Disabilities, while they advocated against these changes over the course of this entire second Trump administration, they are now pretty well resigned to the fact that it's likely to happen, and they are looking at ways to get the most out of it, to get the best benefit from it. We should also bear in mind that the new administrator for the Administration on Disabilities, Rebecca Hines, who has been a guest here in Arizona during her tenure, she is an educator herself. She was a college professor. She taught special education courses. She taught people to become special education teachers, long history in this field. And one of her principal deputies is Diana Diaz-Harrison, who started Arizona Autism Charter Schools. So there is education expertise within the Administration on Disabilities at HHS, and OSERS, it appears, is going to fall under the umbrella of AOD. So I'd say we are not entirely at a disadvantage. It's not as though they are throwing it into an area where there is no knowledge of this topic, and things are just going to go to hell. It may in fact have some benefits, but we just don't know for sure. It's not the ideal outcome we were hoping for, but we will see how things play out. A lot happened at the Arizona legislature this year. There weren't a tremendous number of bills that directly affected people with disabilities, but there were certainly some that had ancillary effect. One of the great things that came out that we're especially pleased with was the passage of House Bill 2700. It establishes a technology first study committee in Arizona. Doesn't provide any funding for that study committee. It doesn't provide any funding to move Arizona toward becoming a technology first state, but it is a very positive first step toward tech first designation for the state. And we're very pleased with that. This falls in line very much with the Bridging Aging and Disability Networks project that we were funded to take part in, and that we continue to participate in. So we're pleased with that. I would just note that we are going to do a legislative wrap-up session next week, Wednesday, July 1st. We will be sharing the links for registration. If you're interested in taking part in that webinar, it'll be at 11:30 a.m., 11:30 to about 1 o'clock on Wednesday the 1st. And we'll get into much more detail about the bills that passed, the bills that didn't pass, what effect those are going to have. And we will also dive in more detail into those changes that are taking place at the Department of Education, as well as some changes that are taking place at Health and Human Services. Last thing is the annual report for ADDPC. It was sent out in your packet. I'll bring it up on the, whoop, do I have it there? Sorry, there it is. Nope, I'm wrong. Where is it? There it is. The annual report for fiscal year 2025. On the cover, you'll see Ryan Berry, who is no longer with the ARC of Tempe, but was the program manager for Arizona Achieve, the statewide self-advocacy network that we as a council are funding. Ryan has left that position. He's now a student at Yale Law School, to give you a sense of the impact our funding can have on people's lives. But in addition, you'll see Patricia Huber and Kathy Middlestat, a mother and daughter who are advocates in the disability community. And you all got an electronic copy of this. We also have hard copies that are available that we're handing out at events like the IHD conference earlier this week. If you'd like a hard copy, we're happy to make that available to you. I got to give credit to Sarah, to Jason, to everybody who contributed to it. They did a really nice job of encapsulating the work that we did in fiscal year 2025 and how the council is making an impact in the lives of people with IDD around the state of Arizona. It was a very busy year, as you all know, and fiscal 26 continues to be a very busy year. We're pleased with what we accomplished. We know there's a lot more to do, but we think this really sort of showcases some of the key things that were accomplished and some of the key relationships and collaborations that resulted from both our funding and our community outreach in fiscal 25. So I hope you'll take a look at it. Once again, if you want a hard copy or several hard copies, let us know. We'll be happy to send those out to you. And I will close there, but I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has on these items. Okay.
Okay. John, I just want to echo your appreciation to staff for all of the work that went into that plan, our annual plan. It's so much work. It's unbelievable what goes into it. And thank you for all your hard work on that. Okay, thanks for that, John. Moving on to agenda item E, our contract and grant renewals and approval. So our first one was.
Okay, I'll start with the first one. I'll be reviewing the NAU IHD Online Privacy and Safety Project, otherwise known as OPS. They're coming in for a year 3 renewal. I'm going to keep it at a very, very high level. It's a long contract, and I'm probably going to miss a lot of the really good details as to what they've accomplished. But for the sake of time, very high level here. The project continues to advance its core goal, which is ensuring that individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities can safely access and navigate the internet. In year 2, they had focused on expanding accessibility, refining instructional design elements, and increasing reach. The key accomplishments include development of a structured Google Classroom learning management system-based course aligned with universal design, expansion of curriculum into 3 age-based pathways, integration of interactive learning tools, including scenario-based learning, video modeling, and applied activities, and finally, establishment of a testing cohort to validate usability and accessibility. In year 3, the Online Privacy and Safety Project will have 4 core focuses, including the first one being deepening engagement with families through family-centered expansion. They plan on doing this through developing a family-facing learning pathway within Google Classroom and IHD's OPS web pages. Also through delivering family-focused training, both virtual and community-based. And also through creating take home and in-home tools, including conversion guides, conversation guides, service safety checklists, and real-life scenarios. The second core focus of the area will be development of resources to support integration into public high school systems. They plan on doing this through badge-ready training opportunities and educational resources, through exploring the creation of standalone courses, as well as a complementary module focused on online privacy and safety for educators working with students with disabilities. Also through creating educator-ready classroom resources aligned for immediate use. And finally, through piloting OPS education resources within special education classrooms, transition programs, professional learning communities, and educator training. The third core area of focus will be sustained training delivery. They plan on doing this by offering 4 to 6 synchronous training courses designed with community and education partners. Also by creating bilingual English and Spanish offerings, and expanding to hybrid delivery models, so through in-person, virtual, and recorded access. And then finally, the fourth core focus area is scaling through partnerships, including through VR and DD agencies. Part of year 3 evaluation activities, they will examine how the online privacy and safety project is implemented across schools, family settings, and partner organizations. They will determine success by OPS being actively used, not just accessed, by families reporting increased confidence in supporting digital safety, through educators integrating OPS into instruction and transition planning, and individuals with IDD demonstrating the ability to make informed and safer decisions navigating online situations such as recognizing risks, protecting personal information, and responding to potential threats. So NAU IHD is requesting level funding in the amount of $72,142 for year 3 renewal of the online privacy and safety OPS project. That's it for me. Any questions? I'm not sure if Kelly's on or wants to add anything, but.
Okay. Well, hearing no further discussion on that, and thank you, Lonnie, that was thorough. And if you've had an opportunity for council members, anybody on, they do have some success stories in there that are show the value of what they're doing, in addition to everything else that Lonnie has just discussed or shared with us. So hearing no further discussion, I'm going to call for a motion to approve the NAU IHD Online Privacy and Safety, or OPS, project year 3 in the amount of $72,142. Do I have a motion to approve? Is that Monica?
Yes, so moved.
Thank you, Monica. Do I have a second?
This is Bajat. I'll second that.
Thank you, Bajat. All those in favor of approval, please say aye.
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 Right.
All those opposed, please say nay. Is anyone abstaining?
This is Kelly Roberts. I'm abstaining. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Okay, thank you. Motion carries, passes. All right, our second grant review and renewal.
Okay, this is Marcy with covering the ARC of Arizona, the next 2 proposals. The first one is going to be the year 4 Arizona Achieve, which is the self-advocacy network development. And I am pulling up my notes here in just a minute. Okay, they are coming in for year 4 funding an increase of $20,000 from 60 to 80. If approved, the contract will take place or begin July 1 through June 30th of 2027. Arizona Achieve is our meets our mandate requirement from the Administration of Community and Living, that every council needs to support a statewide self-advocacy council that really supports 3 areas: leadership development, designed to help people with IDD build knowledge, confidence, and the skills necessary to advocate for themselves. They also are required for self-advocates to participate in their communities in different policy initiatives and to be on community boards or task force, and then to pursue, to have peer-to-peer mentoring, and then, as I said, to pursue other leadership opportunities. In their 3rd year, which is currently going on, and they're just wrapping up a couple of activities, they have demonstrated a continued growth in self-advocates to participate in the number of activities they put on, including leadership development and community engagement. Self-advocates are increasingly taking active roles in various advocacy efforts, policy discussions with different members of Congress or with Arizona legislators, and as stated, previous activities that Arizona Achieve puts on. Some of the things that they have done this past year that will continue on in the next year is to, they put on monthly coalition meetings that serve as a central learning hub and peer connection. They conduct virtual and in-person trainings focused on self-advocacy, the leadership development curriculum that they have developed when Ryan was in place, which is also in Spanish, storytelling, various community engagements that they offer opportunities for self-advocates to participate, entrepreneurship discussion, and understanding how various systems and policy interact and impact their lives. Self-advocates also participated in the Disability Day at the state capitol. They met with elected officials, and I believe 1 or 2 of them were able to participate in the disability policy seminar in Washington, D.C. that occurred this past year. Expansion of the new community partnerships across Arizona, which is really helpful to meet with other self-advocates in rural or tribal communities. Partnerships help to expand the project's visibility, increase their opportunities for engagement, and strengthen connections between self-advocates and community resources. They have developed new and accessible resources, training materials, and recorded educational content. The leadership training curriculum, as I stated before, is just about finished in translation into Spanish. They started telling what they call a Telling Your Story curriculum, which focused specifically on self-advocates' healthcare experiences and how they navigate the healthcare system for themselves. And then staff increased outreach efforts by participating in various community statewide events. It led to an additional 40 new participants joining Arizona Achieve. So the roster number has increased to over 160 participants, but a core group of 50 self-advocates are very active in Arizona Achieve, and they continue to monitor the participation trends. They're very proactive in trying to reconnect with individuals who once participated but have dropped off, and figuring out how to get them more engaged in the activities that Arizona Achieve has and how to support them. They've also redesigned their peer mentoring program to be a more structured, person-centered mentoring model that incorporates individualized goals and allows mentoring activities to be integrated into DDD planning objectives when appropriate. A parallel mentoring model is also available for individuals who do not receive home and community-based services. So they will continue to roll that out in the 4th year. And then they just wrapped up their statewide retreat last Saturday up in Flagstaff. They had a training in Spanish, a leadership training entirely in Spanish in Somerton yesterday. And then they also plan on completing the American Sign Language overlays and captioning for new developed video resources. Coming forward into year 4, based on their survey feedback from self-advocates and basically what they've been able to accomplish this past year, they are really understanding they're going to and focus on more pathways for self-advocates to transition from participation into leadership roles in the community. So all the core activities as stated in year 3 will continue, but they're really going to focus on a continued recruitment of self-advocates, engage with those self-advocates who have perhaps fallen off, and then really to roll out their peer mentoring program and to launch one of the new things that they're going to do with the ARC of Tempe is to launch the Arizona Achieve Leadership Pathway. And this will build upon existing leadership curriculum that they've developed to provide a more structured process to prepare self-advocates for leadership roles on boards, advisory councils, or other decision-making bodies. They plan to recruit 5 to 10 self-advocates for this that are statewide. And when they complete the leadership curriculum, they plan to have structured sessions, receive individualized support, participate in real-world leadership experiences, and they hope that this will create a role model for new self-advocates to participate in the following years. They also will partner with Peer Solutions, which is a statewide nonprofit organization that's been in Arizona since 1996. They have a really strong experience in developing and implementing peer-led programs, policy advocacy initiatives, prevention education, public awareness campaigns, and leadership development activities. They also lead the Youth-Led Coalition, and they maintain partnerships throughout northern, central, and southern Arizona. So with Peer Solutions, they also hope to engage with more youth in their activities and cross sect, on how to support each other. The evaluation process that they're going to have forward obviously is all the existing numbers that we require per our federal requirements, but they are also going to be assessing changes in participant confidence, leadership skills, self-advocacy abilities, and readiness to pursue leadership opportunities through participant surveys, feedback forms, and individual success stories that we'll be able to share. The data will help demonstrate how participants are applying their skills and knowledge within their communities and organizations. So you'll see the budget supports the ARC of Arizona overall to oversee this contract. Majority of the funding is through a contractual with the ARC of Tempe and, with Peer Solutions. Are there any questions?
Okay, I don't see any hands raised. If nobody has any questions or comments for Marcy, I'm going to call for a motion to approve the ARC of Arizona Achieve Self-Advocacy Statewide Project Year 4 in the amount of $80,000. Do I have a motion to approve?
This is Kathy. So move.
Thank you, Kathy. Do I have a second?
I second.
Who said I second?
Gabby.
Gabby, thank you so much. All those in favor of approval, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Is anyone abstaining from voting? Okay, thank you. Motion carries. All right. Project number 3.
Sure. It is supported decision-making. I'll pull up my notes here. Support decision-making is overseen by the ARC of Arizona. They are coming in for a final year, their 4th year at level funding, which is $70,000. Again, this will be a 1-year final contract that will run through June 30th of next year. Just as an overview, support decision-making as a purpose is really important to the state since we have legislation that passed several years ago. It's to increase awareness, understanding, and the use of support decision-making as an alternative to guardianship for individuals with IDD. The Year 3 overview has been really about expanding awareness around support decision-making throughout the state, strengthening partnerships with key systems and other organizations, and to increase access to training opportunities and building long-term sustainability through the development of a statewide train-the-trainer network, which I'll talk about more in detail. By the end of this 3rd quarter, they would have conducted 13 supported decision-making trainings, either virtual or in person. They have conducted trainings in Williams this past month, Lake Havasu City on the 17th, and Show Low, which is today. These trainings around the state, and they are also invited to participate at different conferences, have reached more than 300 individuals during this past year, including self-advocates, family members, and professionals in the areas of healthcare, education, legal services, service providers, as well as medical students. The project has been accepted to present on how technology can support decision-making at IHD's Evidence for Success Disability Conference, which took place earlier this week. And one of the main things that we asked them to consider this past year, in year 3, since we were going to be the council was not going to fund this past a 4th year, but we really wanted to give them the opportunity in this 4th year to fully implement, was to consider how they would sustain support decision-making. And they developed a train-to-trainer model, which by the end of this period should have 40 individuals trained on support decision-making in their communities to go out and conduct SDM training when asked upon, so that it's not just left to the ARC of Arizona as well as DRAS, who is Disability Rights Arizona, who also participates on this program. So it's really to expand other trainers who can also take on this important initiative. The trainer network reflects broad geographic representation across Arizona and includes individuals already trained residing in Phoenix, Gilbert, Surprise, Mesa, Sun City, Casa Grande, Dewey, Tucson, Green Valley, Kingman, Yuma, and Douglas. It's a statewide representation that helps increase the project's capacity to build local training opportunities, expand outreach into rural and unserved communities, and hopefully for more people to access the educational materials that support decision-making has created for plans to be in place for family members. The trainer cohort also represents a diverse group of organizations and systems that interact with individuals with disabilities and their families. Trainers and trainer candidates include representatives from Pinnacle Center, Guthrie Mainstream Services, Arizona DDD, Arizona State University, United Cerebral Palsy of Southern Arizona, Arizona Families Cooperative, Phoenix Children's Hospital, and Kingman Unified School District, and those many others listed in the application. So they help integrate SDM principles into healthcare, education, disability services, community organizations, and public systems throughout the state. The trainers have reported conducting at least one session on their own. At the time of this application that it was submitted to us, so I don't have current numbers, but at the time, 14 trainers have completed all the requirements to begin their own session. 5 additional trainers have completed requirements except attending a training session performed by Melanie or Sai-In, who is with DRAS. 10 additional trainers have completed their application and were being scheduled for the courses on train-to-trainer courses. And they were looking to identify at least 10 more individuals to participate in this initiative so that they can be fully sustained. So they want to have at least 40, but it probably will roll into the 4th year to continue to do outreach to maintain that number. All trainers begin conducting independent sessions within their communities and professional networks. The project continues to provide TA, technical assistance, resources, and ongoing support to ensure accurate and consistent messaging regarding support decision making. So year 4 is really going to be continual outreach to the state. So staff will continue to do outreach with self-advocates and families and caregivers, professionals in the legal, financial, healthcare, and education community. Specific SDM materials are created for each professional group that they have a training for. The ARC will provide training for the upcoming IDEA conference in August, and Encircle Families Transition Institute at Ability 360, which is, I believe, upcoming later on this year. Other invitations to conferences are added throughout the year. They also plan to do in-person training at Wilcox and Winslow. They do a number of virtual trainings that will continue as their schedule commits. And then again, really to roll out the train-to-trainer model and to evaluate how that is supporting SDM in the community. So the evaluation process is very significant this year. They want to at least contact 50 individuals and families who have reported developing already an SDM agreement. And what the ARC of Arizona will do with RICE will conduct follow-up activities and meet with individuals and families to better understand how the agreements are being used in practice. They will offer technical assistance on any enhancements or any changes that perhaps they need to understand in their materials. And then they also plan on, as stated, providing future training sessions, providing future technical assistance to at least 25 individuals on SDM agreements, striving for at least 15 new individuals to indicate they have either created an SDM agreement or have assisted someone else. So that's a real key priority so that we have an understanding of how well the training is used and how families and individuals are implementing one. And then obviously to evaluate the train the model, which is going to be really significant to sustain this. So they have created what they call a CRM system, which is a customer relationship management system. So basically what that does is tracks each of the trainers, their training completion, their certification status, participant feedback. Survey data from the trainer-led sessions are also collected through this system, which allows the project staff, basically the ARC, to monitor outcomes and identify opportunities for additional support. To increase accessibility and simplify participant engagement, each trainer is provided with a unique QR code that could be incorporated into presentation materials to provide direct access to the evaluation surveys. So that's really important, and I think it's great. It's a non-public web page that houses the most current approved versions of presentations for the trainers, provides trainer guides, handouts, evaluation tools, and other resources that they may need when they go on to their own communities to conduct trainings. So that's basically it for my quick summary report. There's a lot in their application, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
How are they this is Vijay, sorry. How are they recruiting trainers for this program?
It's my understanding is folks who have gone through a support decision-making training. Some of it is word of mouth, and I think it's just how Melanie and Sai have continued to do outreach. So it's kind of multi-factor. So many of the folks who are trainers have gone through the support decision-making training themselves, and they advertise, we are rolling out this program and we're really looking for people to participate in their own community.
Thank you.
John, go ahead.
Yeah, Vijay, to your question, they are also reaching out through their listservs, through their mailing lists, their partners' mailing lists as well. In fact, there was a mailing that just went out this morning, an email that just went out this morning, inviting people to take the Train the Trainer course. So if you're interested, or if you'd like to have that information shared with other people in your community, we could certainly put you in contact, or put the ARC of Arizona in contact with you to do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay. Hearing none, I'm going to call for a motion to approve the ARC of Arizona Supported Decision-Making Year 4 in the amount of $70,000. Do I have a motion? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Was somebody making a motion?
Aye. Sophie?
Okay, thank you, Sophie. Do I have a second?
This
I'll
is Jana. I can
second.
second.
Well, thank you all. I heard Jana first on there. Thank you so much. All those in favor of approval, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. Is anyone abstaining? Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Okay, next. Is this you, Mike?
This is Mike, and I'm going to be sharing information on the Arizona Inclusive Future Center proposal. And this builds on the council's initiatives to promote inclusive education. The first was a project coordinated by the Institute for Human Development at Northern Arizona University, supporting inclusive practices in college, or SIPCs. And it provided individualized transition and educational support for 46 students enrolled across partner community colleges and universities. And the second was Think College. The council created Think College to develop and support more post-secondary opportunities for students with intellectual disabilities. And it was based on the premise that people with disabilities can and should go to college just like anyone else. Arizona State University's proposal seeks to establish the Arizona Inclusive Future Center, or AIFC, a statewide technical assistance and capacity building center focused on expanding inclusive post-secondary education opportunities for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities throughout Arizona. The core premise is that Arizona lacks a coordinated statewide infrastructure to help students with IDD. For example, access to college and career training opportunities, transition successfully from high school to adulthood, obtain employment and independent living outcomes, navigate funding and support systems, and connect educational institutions with employers with workforce systems. The proposal is much broader than creating a single college program. The long-term vision is to build a sustainable statewide ecosystem that includes students and families, high schools and transition programs, community colleges, universities, workforce development agencies, vocational rehabilitation, employers, state agencies, and disability advocacy organizations. The goal is to make Arizona a leader in inclusive higher education and employment pathways for people with developmental disabilities. There are three major year one priorities. The first is to conduct a comprehensive statewide assessment, and it's designed to identify existing services. What are the gaps in programming? What are the barriers to participation? Are there geographic disparities? We know there are, but hopefully the assessment will help identify that. What are the family needs? Are institutions ready to develop inclusive education programs? And what are the workforce opportunities? The assessment will involve statewide surveys, focus groups, listening sessions, employer interviews, an analysis of Arizona Department of Education data, and they will conduct outreach to tribal and rural communities. The deliverables will be a statewide needs assessment report, a gap analysis, regional summaries, stakeholder briefs, policy recommendations, and most importantly, it will develop a strategic roadmap for future programming. The second is funding and sustainability strategy to create a sustainable funding pathway. The third is governance and statewide network building. The proposal also seeks to formalize and expand Arizona existing Think College Arizona program. AFIC would assume leadership of the Think College activities, host quarterly statewide meetings, conduct an annual convening, build relationships across colleges, universities, agencies, and employers, and create governance and operating structures for a permanent statewide initiative. The year two vision is to, year one is primarily planning and infrastructure building. Year two begins implementation. The first will be to finalize and publish the needs assessment, to pilot inclusive post-secondary programming, and the third, community building. The distinctive features of the proposal are it includes a statewide accelerator model, which really is, rather than building programs institution by institution from scratch, the center plans to create templates, toolkits, curricula, training modules, policy documents, and operational playbooks. Vocational rehabilitation integration. The center plans to provide technical assistance, support for institutions that would like to integrate VR and pre-employment transition services into, pre-employment transition services into their student support offering. Also a focus on rural and tribal communities. The proposal relies heavily on national data showing that students participating in inclusive post-secondary education programs achieve higher employment rates, greater independence, build social inclusion, and improve long-term income outcomes. It cites employment outcomes of approximately 69 to 73% for participants in national transition post-secondary programs, compared with much lower employment rates among the broader IDD population. It's led by a team from ASU, Dr. Cristo Pirojito, Dr. Adero Allison, and Dr. Amalia Palares. The budget is they are requesting is $98,869 and change, and it includes an ASU in-kind contribution of $30,919. At a high level, this is not a direct service proposal. It is a statewide infrastructure building proposal. Rather than immediately serving large number of students, the first 2 years are intended to create systems, partnerships, funding mechanisms, and implementation tools needed to support inclusive post-secondary education across Arizona for the long term. The strongest strategic argument in the proposal is that Arizona currently lacks a centralized entity responsible for building and coordinating inclusive post-secondary education statewide, and AIFC would fill that role. Are there any questions? I know I went through that quickly, but does anyone have any question or questions?
Go ahead, Kristen.
Thank you. Not necessarily questions, and maybe I need to pause. But I do have, and I mentioned this before, I have some concerns in terms of the VR requirements embedded within this. So do you want me to hold those for later or share now?
You can share now.
Okay. There. So just first to say that the concept of a technical assistance center for this for post-secondary, I think is good. There's significant involvement from VR here that would significantly increase our need to staff up capacity, administrative costs, all of those things, and they're not funded. And so those are concerning for me. Some of the activities that are listed are not within my or VR's control either. I would need to have, to do a statewide contract is not something that VR is able to initiate or work through. We already pay our universities. So we don't need a contract to pay universities and community colleges. I understand the intent, but from a VR perspective, those are already established. And so a statewide contract would not be needed. In terms of capacity to have somebody at each of the universities and community colleges, we don't have the staffing capacity to do that and would not be able to. We're underfunded at this point just from our current standpoint. So to add additional staffing requirements as a part of this grant request is challenging from a VR perspective. And I think finally, the technical assistance on the pre-ETs. We want everybody to share the information far and wide. We have materials that are available, and so I would ask that the established materials are used from a VR perspective versus having potentially another entity providing technical assistance on contract requirements, all of that information that isn't theirs. It is the responsibility and we've developed that information. So obviously share, but the way it's stated, it sounds like they would take that information and then they would provide the technical assistance. And that's a concern for me from a VR perspective as well.
Thank you, Kristen, for sharing that. I did talk to Krista Pirojito about your concerns, and essentially she shared that she wants to establish a working relationship with VR. She talked about the process that it took over a year for them to obtain the contract to provide pre-ed services. So she wanted to share her experiences with the community colleges and universities to see how they could streamline that process. They don't want to duplicate any effort. They want to use the existing services that are out there, but they just want to share the experience that they went through. I understand your concern about having a person at each of the universities or the colleges. I think that that's something that we can discuss with you and see how we can work that out.
don't know that I appreciate that and certainly willing to have the discussions. The embedding of the VR requirements within this grant proposal is still concerning. So y'all will be approving, from what I understand, this proposal that has requirements that VR does X, Y, and Z in order for them to continue to receive funding or to get funding. I am not able to say at this point that that is something that we will be able to achieve. So, collaborations, having the conversations, let's see what we can do, absolutely involved. But that because this is embedded in the proposal, there's still that concern from my perspective. And I'll just share that contracting as a private entity versus as a state government entity, very different activities. And like I said, I didn't have to, I don't have contracts with universities and with the community colleges. So that isn't, I guess, a factor if we want to share it in that way. It would be a different contracting process than what a private entity used for their pre-ets.
Kristen, I have a memo that, an email that Krista provided. I'd like to share that with you after the meeting and perhaps we can discuss this further. But you did try to clarify, and I apologize for not doing a good job of their involvement with VR. But again, what the bottom line is that they just wanted to provide technical support on how to integrate VR and pre-ets into their student support offerings. So I think this memo might explain and cover that, but I am very willing to discuss this in more detail with you after.
Thank you.
Okay, Bridget, do you still have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I'm just curious then, just based on what Kristen had said, was there no MOU or partner agreement in place? Is it their intent to, I guess I'm confused then about the proposal if they're heavily leaning on VR staff, but then there's no partner agreement, MOU, or even a letter of support from VR. That to me is concerning about their ability to complete what they're proposing.
Well, year one is going to focus on the needs assessment survey. It's also going to focus on obtaining funding so that this can be a sustainable program, and then also focus on taking over the activities that Think College Arizona was doing. So year two is more of the policy and everything else. So we recognize that there was a lot that there needed to be discussions, for year two, because year two is the implementation. After they collect this information from the needs assessment and they develop the framework for how the technical assistance center should be set up, then they were going to discuss in more detail the negotiations, if you will, with VR and what that means. So I guess what I'm telling you is that in year one, the VR component was not going to be part of it. It would be identified in year two.
Did you say it would be or maybe?
It would be.
Well, and the comment on that too, because I had some concerns too from the beginning as well, Kristen, about that component. I'm like, how does that fit into a technical assistance center? And what I understood is that they wanted to work with VR at some point. And as they walk through the process, because we do recognize that it can be very helpful for universities working with folk rehab, obviously, how they can maybe assist some other universities or community colleges in their experience, right? I mean, that wasn't the whole point of this project, but the bigger point was to be able to truly find or provide resources for families and other people in the community. Because when your child graduates, there isn't one place to go to say what programs are out there, whether they're academic or non-academic, what supports and sources, what are our options, what are everything. And it's why that, Think College is in several other states, and some of them have got dozens and dozens of educational institutions in there, right? And the ones that are doing really well have got a technical assistance center for families to say, hey, here's your resources, here's some pathways, here's how you access those. And with it being a possible in year 2, I know that's in there. I feel like that is something moving forward that ASU would most definitely need to sit down and speak with VR to kind of flesh out. And Mike, please don't smack me on this later when you see me, but to have a conversation and say, here's exactly what we want to do, what's already in place, how can we support what we want to do, not step on VR's toes, not do things that are out of our purview, right? How can we simply help other colleges and universities in this? I think that's fine, but it's like, I understand, Chris, and I hear you loud and clear. There are just things you guys, it is the way it is. So since it's not in year 1, I'm comfortable with moving forward because I have seen the success of other technical assistance centers that are operating under the same premise and what they want to do. It's a big, ambitious thing, but we don't make any progress in that area without having something like this, and it takes time. And I do think that they're going to have to iron out some of those specifics in year 2 and prior to year 2, obviously. That's just kind of my thoughts on there. So, Kathy, did you have a comment or question?
I guess for me, it's what were we going to approve today? The entire contract for several years, or that's one thing. And or what if they get to the end of year 1 after the needs assessment and it can't move forward with VR? Are we left with something like really valuable information based on the needs assessment that we can still move forward from that? Maybe in a different way if it's not with VR, I don't know. But I do have some concerns about approving something for more than 1 year if it doesn't work out in year 2.
Well, I can answer then, Mike. We only approve 1 year at a time, and we never know with any project, even if we think, oh, this might be multi-year.
Right, but can we gain something that's of benefit to us?
Yes.
If he can't move forward?
Yes.
Does the needs assessment, will it give us something that maybe we pivot and go a different direction down the road? Or it gives us just invaluable information for other things too?
Well, I think it will be extremely useful with the information, and then it will, whatever happens with that VR component, it will absolutely enable them to continue to move forward to set up that technical assistance center. And, in house Think College as well there too. So I do feel like the answer is yes, it will, whatever comes out of it will be useful. Did you have more, Kathy or Mike? Do you need to?
No, I'm good. Kristen's got her hand raised.
Thank you, Kristen. Go ahead.
Thanks. The similar questions and thought processes that Kathy just raised. And then, just kind of historically, needs assessments are done, and then it's here VR, go do something with this information we've gotten. And so that's, again, another concern and challenge is from a project, this, capacity standpoint at the VR side, we've already got our plates full with just about everything that we are planning. So for awareness, additional activities, even in year 2, 3, 4, would be challenging from a capacity and funding standpoint for VR.
Okay. Well, it's not just about voc rehab or what voc rehab can do. The much bigger focus is on having a central hub where families and even educators that are in the field, where can I go? I have these students that are graduating. What are their options? What are the programs that are out there? Because the vast majority of people don't, for the programs that are in place now, they're not using voc rehab. It would be great if they could for some of them, but they're not actually using them right now. It's what, non-academic, what academic, what are my choices as a person with a disability moving into post-secondary education? What are the resources for parents that are looking? Because there's more than just a couple of programs within the state. And other universities or other even community colleges that want to begin to build their own programs on a smaller scale, not VR stuff, but building them larger and having some guidance on how to do that. ASU has built one, that they're doing. NAU has done a lot of work, and NAU, ASU, the U of A, GCU are all part of Think College. And then we have other community colleges that have begun to join too. And it's more than just this one thing. It's this big consortium of how do we provide guidance to the community and those families in particular at large in schools that maybe want to build something, and whether or not they opt to use VR or not, or pursue that. That's a tiny part of it, but it isn't the main purpose of this project. Yes, Kristen.
Yeah, I was just wondering, where is Department of Ed in this conversation? Right, the responsibilities of Department of Ed to share the information about what is available, how it becomes available, where does it get shared? That is something that I didn't necessarily see in the proposal. There's a big highlight for what VR will be responsible to do. Rather than potentially seeking what's already existing and how do we enhance what's already existing at the Department of Ed structure. And within that structure, we have limited influence in that area as well, just because we're under different elected officials in terms of government. So that is something that I think would be worth exploring. And then just for the sake of knowledge, we do support Think College in terms of areas that support employment outcomes. So we are paying for students to get Think College activities at NAU. We explored with LOPES, we explored with Focus. Some of those are community access more programs, independent access programs, and not employment focused. And so the employment focus is where we're able to, lend our insights. And we do have staff co-located, not co-located anymore, but at least assigned to the three major universities. So there are folks that are there, whether or not, DRCs know about them, families get told about them, sharing for outreach is much different than creating statewide contracts. And so potentially, that may be some proposed wording changes in a proposal.
That I hear you. That makes sense. Vijette?
I'm wondering if we could vote to approve year one, but then also ask a clarification just on, since they did not, I don't know if it would change the scope of the proposal too much, but maybe ask them to provide a clarification on how they propose to work with government entities in year two, something like that, where we can continue on with the contract, but get some more clarification that makes the council feel comfortable, given the information of what could potentially happen in year two.
Okay. That is an excellent question. Okay, Mike. Oh, Vijette, did you have something else?
Nope, I was trying nope, that was it. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you. Okay, Mike?
Well,
is that
I'll need to discuss with Marcy how we frame the ISA. We'll need to include this language in the ISA that asks for clarification on how we propose to work with other government entities, ask for clarification on what are the requirements of VR, so that that information could be available upon completion of year one. I think the Kathy Lewandowski's comment about, okay, we invest in this needs assessment, and what information, what if we decide we can't go forward? If that decision is made, then we don't go forward. As Melissa said, we only fund projects on on a 1-year basis. If we determine that we made this investment, but it's not what we were hoping for, we will not continue, or we will not make a recommendation to fund a year 2.
Okay.
Just real quick, like just the language matters when we talk about these kinds of things. The requirements of VR can still concerns me when it's a part of a proposal that I do not have any direct impact in or influence on. So the collaboration with VR, the activities, how do we work with VR versus what will VR be required to do as a result of this grant opportunity. So I would like to just make that as a slight tweak to whatever proposal is being made.
I agree. Did you get that, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Was there any?
Melissa, this is Marcy. Let me jump in here. So here's the thing is, and I agree with Kristen and with her last point in terms of the proposal and language in the proposal, because it does get attached to the final ISA contract, the interagency service agreement. And there is a breakout of service tasks and deliverables and so forth. Though there is just a focus of the money, primarily the money is just to do the needs assessment. And then there was 2 other areas, to look at, like, where the resources of funding are and kind of do a map of that or report, and then to kind of build the infrastructure. It is understandable, to Kristen's point, having anything that is out of her control needs to be taken out or reworded in the proposal before a contract can even be signed off by either party. So I'm, as a staff person, as the one primarily responsible for putting these contracts together, if this is not, if anything in the proposal is concerning and not I's dotted, T's crossed and looks great, then it has to go back to ASU and for staff to work out together. And though it's listed in there, but again, I think it's not comfortable to have some language in there that is not clear or does not delegate exactly who is responsible for what and who could carry out further activities going forward. So it would have to be a conversation that we would have to have with ASU to further refine this proposal, and the conversations with Kristen and why Department of Education isn't part of this conversation. And it could be something where the ISA doesn't go in place until October, until this proposal is figured out, which is just my opinion. But, take it for what it is on our end with contracts, stuff like that. Every time we do an ISA, we don't add information in proposals that has nothing to do with what the project needs to do.
Yeah. I understand. And I hear you loud and clear, because I have shared some of the same concerns. And it obviously may alter the timeline, but if we're going to fund anything on this, it needs to be done right. It needs to be very clear. I absolutely understand that, there are some things that maybe have been asked for in there that can't happen the way that they're worded. They just can't. Like VR, it works the way that it works. And Chris, I understand that it is the system. And then I think ASU has a really good intent, but that doesn't really matter. It's got to be spelled out quite clearly. And they can put in there what they can do, but they cannot put those demands and expectations on somebody else, particularly unless they've said, hey, here's exactly, you guys have talked, here's exactly what we can do, here's how we can support you, without adding some massive burden of work on you. But I do agree that it either needs to be removed for now, completely clarified, or something else. So, Mike, what do we need to do with this? And I know it changes the timeline, I know, but it is what it is. So what happens from here?
I'm going to have to discuss this with Marcy. I'm going to need guidance from her, because the plan was that we were hoping that this would go into effect July 1st.
Yep.
So obviously we're going to have conversations with ASU for the clarification, and if it calls for removing the language, because it looks like we might have to do,
Yep.
we can do that.
Okay, may I make a request or a comment anyways? And this really is aimed at Kristen and whoever, would be your decision and appropriate. As Mike is working through that with ASU, if Mike and the team from ASU have questions, would you be willing and open to have a conversation with them as they work through that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Mike, would that be helpful?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, why don't we plan on that? So for now, I am going to table any type of vote on the Arizona Inclusive Futures Center, Think College Arizona Virtual Technical Assistance Center at ASU. I'm going to table that. Do I need to call any motion or a vote for approval, or can I just table that? This is for staff question.
Yeah, Melissa, I don't know what Robert's rules say about this, but I think as the chair, you can probably just make the executive decision to table this, and we'll revisit.
Okay, but I am making the executive decision that we table this for further explanation, for further exploration with Mike and staff, with ASU and VR, if they are willing, and that would be super helpful. So we will table this for now, and Mike will get back to the council. Yes, Kathy?
So I'm just wanting to know from Marcy and Mike, especially Marcy, will we have to have a special meeting to approve this if we want it to go into effect? I mean, I'm just trying to think of the next council meeting is not for 3 months, correct? And so this could get delayed in implementation, right? If everything works out.
Yeah, we may have to call, and I can answer for that, but we may have to call another meeting on that one, a brief meeting to approve.
A brief. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
An executive will have to meet. So
Okay.
yes, Mary.
The other thought that I have is that the intent of this kind of thing sounds like it fits in with the planning and everything. However, there's this one glitch that we have to get through. So we might take a vote and say, if these things are worked through, then have the executive committee make a decision about it. Just another thought to expedite it. I don't know.
It's my thought too, and I never want to just have a small group of people make that decision, but it's a thought to maybe make a vote on that. Okay, so Mike, John, what are your thoughts on that? If those details can be, and then we would have to call for a motion and very specific on what those need to be.
In my opinion, that's actually a very good solution if the council as a whole is amenable to that.
Okay. So the changes would be the council would approve for this to move forward for executive committee to make the final decision. If there are clarifications on how ASU proposes to work with government entities, and that it's collaboration with VR and that they work with VR to make those changes that are acceptable. And of course, in that process, it will be clarifying with VR, what language is comfortable, what is not. Yes, Kristen.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I am not a part of that executive committee. And so something happens, final project plan is provided, final information is provided, then I am not afforded the opportunity to review that before approval.
I think, okay, and so my thinking is, can't you have that information prior? Mike, is it possible if those, those conversations are happening with ASU, with Mike and staff, that you're present for those conversations, then you would have the information and then can view that final proposal?
Yeah, my plan is to keep Kristen involved in all the communication between the council and ASU. I want to make sure that Kristen is comfortable with whatever language is retained and used, I want her to essentially give her approval. Yes, this is something that VR can support. I don't think we can do it otherwise.
And you can attend those executive committee meetings. They're not closed. Well, you can't vote because you're not a member of the committee. You can absolutely be there for that. Okay. Yes, Mary. So, Kristen, were you going to reply to that, to Mike's response?
Yeah, I was just going to say, kind of going through the open meeting law kind of requirements as well in my brain, and given the amount of discussion on this, I wasn't certain if that was a feasible proposal or not, but whatever the council decides, and then would appreciate having information on executive committee, because I don't think I currently get those announcements and information.
Yeah, well, it's open for our council members, anybody to sit and listen. Obviously, unless you're a committee member, you cannot vote. But if you are included in conversations of what the language will be in this contract moving forward, and you're in the loop, are you comfortable with that? With us making a motion today?
And that was my intent with suggesting that.
Okay, Mary, thank you.
As long as, yeah, I mean, to be able to see it, I still continue to feel that imposing activities on a separate entity that is not receiving the grant funding is not something that needs to be included in this proposal. So then that begs the question of what would I be reviewing if there's not going to be any requirements of VR in a subsequent proposal.
Okay, because
collaboration is one thing. Like, we can collaborate, we can discuss. However, if there's not a requirement of anything, then that alleviates the concern of having that already written in the proposal.
I do understand that, and I agree. I think, Mike, that they've got to take out anything that is a requirement of VR, because I had expressed those concerns from the beginning. They can't require VR to do anything. What if they have a discussion with VR prior to contract being signed that they can collaborate with VR? Is that workable, Kristen? And you are part of those conversations of what that collaboration would look like that doesn't require more money for you. Maybe it's just some advisement. I don't know what that would be. I don't know. But they cannot require you to do anything.
Yeah, and yes, that does work. As long as I can, see that it's been taken out of the proposal, because I don't want it to get attached to any kind of ISA and information there.
Understand. That's not okay, and want it to be above board, all of it.
Yes. And that begs the question, is there success based on VR being part of their proposal? That would be when I would be curious in. If the success of what they're proposing is because VR is involved, then, we need to know that.
Yeah. I don't think so, but we need to hear it directly from ASU.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, where are your thoughts with this? I know we're running very short on time, but important. Want full transparency with council members.
Well, we've tabled it, so I will consult with Marcy and John, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, the other suggestion besides tabling it was making a motion that executive committee can approve the contract after you have met with ASU and with Kristen and have made clarifications in the contract to take out requirements for VR and clarifying any way that they would collaborate with one another, and that language is acceptable to VR.
Yes.
And if they're on board, then executive.
Yes.
Okay, and then executive committee could approve that contract moving forward, so we do not have to hold another full council meeting. And that contract, of course, could be sent out and shared with all council once it's satisfactory to ASU, to council staff, to Voc Rehab, and Kristen in particular, since she is the boss over there, making sure it's all good. Would that be acceptable?
Yes. On my part, yes. On
Okay.
the council's part.
Okay, then I am going to make a motion to approve that the ASU contract for, pardon me for a minute, Inclusive Future Center, Think College, Arizona Virtual Technical Assistance Center in the amount of $98,868.81 can be approved and shall be approved by executive committee after Michael Leva and staff meet with the ASU team, Kristen Mackey and VR team, to make some changes to that contract, removing any requirements from VR, and specifying how they will work with government entities moving forward, including VR at ASU, and what those collaborations are. Yes, Marcy.
It's not a contract, so it's an ASU proposal. That's different than a contract. And I would be cautious to use the word shall approve until until you have a vote by the executive committee. So it's a proposal, it's an updated proposal that ASU will submit to the council staff upon discussion with Michael and Kristen Mackey and other parties.
Okay, I said can, then shall. Does the word may or
that the executive committee will review an updated proposal to consider for funding.
Okay. Okay. All right. Then I'm calling for a motion that executive committee will review an updated proposal for funding from ASU for the Arizona Inclusive Future Center, Think College, Arizona Virtual Technical Assistance Center. Do I have a motion?
Aye, Sophie.
Thank you, Sophie. Do I have a second?
This is Mary. I'll second.
Thank you, Mary. All those in favor of approval, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. Is there anyone abstaining?
This is Kristen. I'll abstain given the focus of VR.
Okay, thank you, Kristen, so much.
This is Raina. I'm going to abstain until we hear more about the relationship between ASU and DES.
Okay. Abstaining. Okay, thank you. Noted that both Kristen Mackey and Raina are abstaining, but even with that, the motion carries. Okay, Mike, please keep us updated.
Okay, thank you, Melissa.
Okay.
And
Thank
thanks
you.
everyone for
You bet. And if it's helpful to pull in ADE on any of those discussions, although I don't know that there's, you do whatever information you need to gather, and suggestions from Kristen too, that would be helpful, on the government entities part in particular. You probably have your own thoughts. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome. Okay. Moving on to agenda item F, our federal fiscal year 2027 annual work plan. Okay.
All right. Sorry.
That's
My
okay.
apologies.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna take the lead on this and go very, very quickly. I would invite any other members of staff to chime in if there's anything I missed, but I am not going to go through this item by item. You all have a copy of the proposed work plan. We've talked about most of this at past meetings, and so I'm hoping that without going through item by item, you'll still feel comfortable with where we're headed. I do want to touch on just a few things. First of all, let me see if I can pull this up really fast here. There we go. Okay, a number of projects are carrying forward from one year to the next. That's pretty obvious. They all will, you can see in these areas that are highlighted, the year the project was listed. If it's 2026, that means it's new this year. If it's 2023, obviously it's been going on for a few years. We talk about when the projects are expected to be completed. In this case, this is the Disability Data Hub. We don't know. This is an ongoing project. We haven't put a deadline on it. And then we offer a justification of why we are continuing the project. This is true of every activity, under every objective, under every goal. So you can take a look at those. A couple of things I wanted to touch on. First of all, our Employment First initiative. This is not a project that we are funding, but we wanted to point out that the Sonoran Center at the University of Arizona will be opening the state's Employment First office in the very near future. And JC, my apologies if I just let the cat out of the bag, but it seems like everybody knows. So we have an absolute fundamental commitment to working with all of our employment partners to support the work they're doing, to make sure that they are successful, and to potentially in the future provide funding for projects that will support that work. We're not providing funding for this particular project next year, but we do want to reiterate our fundamental commitment to working with Employment First, on Employment First, moving into the future. Moving down a little bit, and this, by the way, we are under Goal 1, Objective 1 here. I want to talk about the Bridging Aging and Disability Networks project. The formal funding for this project, we are part of a national community of practice, as you all know. The formal funding for this project will end at the end of September of this year. There is a somewhat remote possibility that ACL is going to provide some ongoing funding. We don't know if it's going to take the same form, if it's going to be for a community of practice like what we have now, or if it's going to require new applications, or really what it's going to look like. But we do know that the funding we're getting right now ends at the end of September. On the other hand, we are committed to continuing this work because all of our partners, who include state agencies, who include nonprofit organizations, who include private individuals, all of our partners recognize that the issues around aging and developmental disabilities are not going to go away. There's a lot of work still to do. As I mentioned earlier, we got some legislation, or legislation was passed this year that in some way supports the work we're doing. So we are continuing this work moving forward, and it will continue on essentially a voluntary basis. Those who are involved will be carving time out of their work schedules or their personal schedules in order to stay involved with this. This is another one where we would anticipate that it's going to be a very long-term project. We do have 2031 listed here as the year it's expected to be completed, only because we're folding it into this new 5-year plan. But it's my opinion that the work will be sort of perpetual. Let's see, moving on to Objective 2 under Goal 1. I do want to talk about criminal justice work. We have greatly expanded the work we're doing around criminal justice and IDD. Jason is the lead from our staff on this, and he has developed some great relationships throughout the state for government partners, law enforcement partners, criminal justice partners. So we're going to be taking on some work, some additional work in the next year, including a contract that we are envisioning with either Yavapai or Coconino County to do a project related to, basically a pilot project related to individuals with IDD who are taken into the county jail and how services are provided to them. That one is still being, it's still being finalized. It's one that we would expect will take effect on October 1st. The proposal for that and the contract for that will be provided to you at our September council meeting. But this is a growing field. There's a lot more attention being paid right now to interactions of people with IDD and both the criminal justice system and law enforcement. So we are committed to doing the best to make sure people with IDD receive the services and the supports they need and are treated fairly and equitably within criminal justice systems around the state. Touching really quickly on our collaboration around sexual violence. As you all know, the council has been involved in sexual violence issues since even before the Hacienda incident, and we want to continue that. We have not funded a project in this area for a couple of years. We're not planning to fund a project in this area for 2027, but that's not to rule out the possibility that we might in the future. There is still a lot of work going on around the state by the Arc of Arizona, by the Sonoran Center, by representatives of other provider organizations and service organizations such as Bloom 365. A lot of work still going on to ensure protection of individuals with IDD from sexual violence. We want to be part of that. We want to make sure that the work that's been done over the last 6, 7, 8 years is not lost. But we are not in a position right now to fund the projects going forward. We may, in fact, do that in the future. Activity 4 goes back to issues around criminal justice and people with IDD. We are going to work with partners outside of the council to try and effect some policy changes, whether that's legislation or internal policy changes within criminal justice systems or law enforcement systems around the state. This is one that is not intended to be funded, but it ties in with what Jason will be doing on the other items that I mentioned a moment ago. So you'll see them listed as two separate activities, but they are very much entwined with one another. They just may be focusing on slightly different aspects of that issue. Moving on to goal 2, I want to talk about the DESP initiative. This is the Direct Employment Support Professionals initiative. We are currently funding a project to get more professional training and certification for direct employment support professionals. Those are individuals who help people with IDD find jobs in their communities. There is a certification process, a nationally recognized certification process through the Association of People Supporting Employment First, or APSE. Our project this year is funding training and certification for those individuals. We are planning to renew this funding going into the next year so that additional people can get trained, and so that the Sonoran Center can evaluate the success of the project in the first year and really identify whether that certification and training is having a positive impact in the lives of the individuals being served. So we're having conversations with Sonoran Center, but it is our intention to come forward with a contract for renewal at the September council meeting, unless something unforeseen happens on that. I want to remind people that we have built into our budget support for a project search site in the state of Arizona. This is likely to be a high school-based project search site. There have been various locations floated. We were thinking of one in Lake Havasu City, another one in Yuma, another one in the Rio Rico Sahuarita area. At this point, the final location has not been determined, but we do still have the funding in our budget, and obviously the intent in our plan moving forward to fund establishment of that site. I want to remind everybody that $18,000, that is a one-time payment to pay the licensing fee for the site. The ongoing license renewal, the annual renewal, will be the responsibility of the project search site. We want to help make sure that it can get established, it can get started, and it can get moving and supporting more students in a rural community, outside of the urban areas of Phoenix and Tucson. So then touching on, sorry, we talked about that. Really quickly, that we're going to support a technical assistance project. I didn't pass it. Maybe I did. We're going to support a technical assistance project that's kind of linked to, oh, there it is, linked to the bridging population, the bridging aging and disabilities project that we're doing. This would be a pilot initially, and then an ongoing evaluation related to how assistive technology and enabling technologies are being used in the lives of individuals with IDD to support independence and self-determination. We have some money from our original grant from the bridging project that we're going to place toward this, and then we're going to dedicate some council funds as well. And then IHD is going to dedicate some of its internal funds to make this project happen. We are seeing the adoption of technology to support independence and self-determination in many, many places around the country. Arizona is well behind the curve on this. We think we need to catch up. And in order to do that, we need to understand what's going to be most effective and most beneficial for individuals in Arizona. That is why we're proposing this project moving forward. And then the last thing I want to talk about is actually the last item on the work plan. And it is, it is a healthy lifestyles pilot project. You can see we have budgeted $100,000 for this, and I want to be totally upfront with everybody. We have not yet identified what this project is going to look like. We realize that's a lot of money to be to basically be dedicating to something that hasn't been identified. But we are committed to looking in the area of health and well-being for individuals with IDD, because we know it's an area that has not been given adequate attention in recent years, whether it's nutrition, exercise, mental health, you name it. If it falls under that category, we're open to ideas. I also want to emphasize that even though we have dedicated this money tentatively toward that, we're not carving that in stone right now. This could change, but we wanted to at least explore the idea, see what we can come up with. If we are able to identify something that could take effect by October 1st, then we will absolutely have something to present to you at the September council meeting for your approval. If not, we may have to pivot. We may have to go in a different direction. We will notify you if that's the case, and you will see something different identified to utilize those dollars in fiscal year 27. But I do, I guess, want to emphasize that as staff, and I think as a number of people on the council, we want to look at what's available in the area of healthy lifestyles or health and well-being, and support those kinds of projects moving into the subsequent years of the upcoming annual or the upcoming state plan. So my apologies. I realize I rushed through that, but again, you all have a copy of the document. If you have any questions whatsoever, I'm more than happy to answer them, but I just, in the interest of time, do not want to go through it item by item. I guess I would also say that we need your vote to accept this work plan so that it can be submitted to ACL with the remainder of our state plan documents no later than August 15th.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions for John so that we may make a motion to approve the annual work plan as written? Okay. Hearing none, I'm going to call for a motion to approve our federal fiscal year 2027 annual work plan as written. All those in, could I please have a motion to approve?
This is Bijette, so moved.
Bijette, thank you so much. Do I have a second?
I'll
second. Was that Jana? Who was that? Somebody claim that, please.
Sophie.
Sophie? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sophie. All those in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Is anyone not voting? Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Okay, John, I know that we are almost out of time here. We have 5 minutes left, and we have a guest presentation and committee work group report outs. And I have a family emergency. I need to take my mom to the emergency room. I have reached out to JJ, our chair, to see if he can jump on this call to help wrap up this meeting. Sorry. Do I have any suggestions? Have a bit of a crisis going on. This is really directed for staff. I know. I can call JJ. I know JJ said he was going to be here, but late. I have texted him. I'm not hearing back. Okay. Shay says they are happy to present another time. I am so sorry. Guys, I'm so sorry because if we can, there are no more action items on here.
Do we have public input time then?
Hang on one moment, please. John?
Yeah, I mean, you would have to find someone else who's willing to step in as acting chair, I guess. And obviously that would be JJ if he was here. We don't have any other officers, so I don't know who would be the most appropriate to do that.
Okay. Do we want to do, what about our guest presentation? And I'm gonna keep trying to get a hold of JJ. Do we want to do our presentation today or have them come back to our next full council meeting? They're all here. I feel bad for this.
Yeah, I mean, if others are planning to drop off at 12 o'clock too, then I wouldn't want to be rude to our presenters and have them lose their audience. If Shay, if you and Jenny are willing to come back, we can make time for you probably at our September meeting. We don't meet again until then.
I'm fine with that.
Ladies, I'm so sorry. We
No.
obviously had a lot of extra discussion today.
Not a problem.
Don't have.
we're happy to come back at another time and send you lots of updates of things in the meantime to prep you so it can be an action oriented. And Jenny's fantastic and can pivot. Thank you so much, Jenny. This is some part of her data ambassador program, and we are happy to pivot with her.
Thank you, because we do want to hear it. We do want to hear what you've been working on and what's going on and recognize the importance of it. And I so apologize for today. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Okay, guys, real quick, we're going to table agenda item G, our guest presentation for State of the State and Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, and invite our guest back to our next full council meeting. Okay? Okay. Agenda item H, our committee work group report outs. Okay. We have those two things. Yes, Mr. Delgado, we will get to the call to the public, but that is not quite yet in our agenda.
Oh, okay.
We'll get to you, sir. Okay.
I'll wait.
Thank you so much. Okay. Agenda item H, committee work group report outs. The first one from Meaningful Careers Committee. I'm going to blow through this one, guys. And Mike, thank you for writing up the notes. And so for the Meaningful Careers Committee report out, in addition to the Arizona Inclusive Future Center project that Mike mentioned earlier, the Meaningful Careers Committee will recommend the council partner with the University of Arizona Sonoran Center for Excellence in Disabilities to fund the licensing fee for a new high school-based project search program. Funding will cover the initial site licensing fee from Project Search National, which includes ongoing training for school staff and host business staff, access to the curriculum and Project Search portal, and data collection activities necessary to provide high-quality transition to employment services for students with IDD and other disabilities. Project Search high school programs designed as year-long business-led transition internships for young adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities boast impressive outcomes, with 72% of graduates achieving competitive integrated employment. The Meaningful Careers Committee will also recommend the council fund year 2 of the Disability Employment Services Professional, or DESP project, which is a collaborative initiative to understand who Arizona's employment professionals are, identify the support they require, and strengthen the state system for promoting competitive integrated employment for people with disabilities. The project is a strategic partnership among 3 core organizations: the Sonoran Center for Excellence in Disabilities, Arizona APSI, or Association of People Supporting Employment First chapter, and the Colorado Office of Employment First. Currently, the DESP project is gauging the commitment of Certified Employment Support Professional, or CESP, credentialing through National APSI. This tests whether organizations are willing to support credentialing if funding is available, and explores what types of assistance DESPs may need during the certification process. Work is advancing on the development of training courses to help the DESPs. 3 modules are currently under development and getting close to being done. Number 1, navigating Arizona's employment service systems. Number 2, the right to work, understanding disability employment policy. Number 3, delivering inclusive employment services in practice. We will keep you informed on the progress we have made. And then finally, Mike asked me to pass along some great updates from this year's Institute for Human Development as an Evidence for Success Disability Conference. ADDPC had a strong presence, with John Myers and Jason Sneed each giving 2 well-received presentations. Mike mentioned that in every session he attended, John and the council were specifically recognized for their leadership, collaboration, and partnership. Wonderful to hear. In fact, many are calling this year's conference the best one yet. Kelly Roberts, a huge congratulations to you and the entire IDHD team. The praise is absolutely well-deserved. Great conference. And there's even more good news. Our council member, Monica Cooper, has been without a computer for quite some time, and Mike has been working hard behind the scenes to get her one for a very long time. As it turns out, Mike won a raffle at the IDHD conference, a reconditioned Dell desktop, and he's donating it to Monica. Sarah, Jason, and Mike will be reaching out to coordinate setting up your new computer, Monica. We really are so happy for you, and you can see.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you guys.
You're quite welcome.
For saying that. Thank you.
You are so welcome. We are excited. So if you have any questions about committee activities, you can reach out to either Michael or me or both of us. Okay.
Okay.
And Monica, they'll be in touch, and you absolutely please reach out to Mike.
Okay.
Okay. The only other committee work group report is Kathy Lewandowski for the work plan review. We did just talk a lot about a work plan. Yes, Ms.
Yeah,
Kathy.
we did. We just, our work plan review committee met on June 4th to go over the work plan. And I think a lot has been discussed today, so I don't think there's anything more I can say. Thank you, Kristen, for bringing up your concerns. We weren't aware of those when we were discussing them in the work plan review, so I appreciate that. But I really appreciate everybody's discussion, and if anybody else would like to join our work plan review committee, council members, please do let me know if you'd like to be part of our committee. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. And thank you for your leadership on that committee. There's so much work that goes with that. Thank you. I sit on that with you, but I'm grateful you are running it. Thank you. So, okay, agenda item I, announcements. Do any of our council members or staff have announcements to make?
I do.
Okay, go right ahead. Was that?
Sophie has some big news.
Okay, Sophie, please share your big news.
Council.
Why?
I'm going to school out of state in Colorado.
Sophie's been accepted to a program at Regis University in Denver. And as a result, this is her last council meeting.
That's why I came in person, not virtual, because I always come virtual, and so I just wanted to come in person.
Gabby, first of all, congratulations. That is a huge achievement for you. Thank you so very much. Thank you. And thank you for your time spent with us. We miss you. Maybe someday, if you're not too busy and too much of a big shot, you can come back and spend some time with us again, or perhaps do some work in here. Your input has been valuable. Your perspective is very valued. Thank you, and congratulations on your big adventure. That's amazing. Okay, thank you. Are there any other announcements today? Okay, moving on to agenda item J, a call to the public. I know we have several members on here of the public, but I believe Mr. Delgado. Any comment or a question, sir?
Melissa, before you do that, can I go ahead and leave? My ride is here.
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead, Monica. If you've got to go, I understand it. We've gone over if anybody else has got to drop off. I do understand. Thank you for your attendance today. Thank you. Okay. Okay, Mr. Delgado.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, I'll just make my comment today. I'd like to mention this because I think it's important. We are celebrating our 250th Constitutional freedom to our country this weekend on the 4th of July week. And several people and events are developing to put a lot of recognition throughout our constitutional time. I just want to make a recommendation and a request to the council approval, and maybe to ask John, our director of the planning council, that week, if you put out a nice press release of all the events that took place starting from July 26th, when President Bush signed the ADA, and up to the present. So they can be in print, maybe on the Sunday newspaper where families are able to read it, along with other events, and other entities are doing the same thing from what I understand. So John, if you will, I'd like to just request a nice press release to give thanks to our legislators, supporters, advocates, and all those in Arizona as well this past many years past, but it comes with the 250th anniversary of achievement. That's all I have to say. I think it'd be nice that something like that would be said in print form, if you will. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Delgado. John, do you have anything you want to say? Or Thank you.
No, thank you very much for the input, Mr. Delgado. We will, I will work with our communications director and we will absolutely issue a recognition of that key event and others.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Delgado.
Yes,
Okay,
I see it.
everybody. We always appreciate your input and your thoughts and your wisdom. Thank you. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions from the public? Okay. Hearing none, I am going to adjourn this meeting at 12:08 p.m. Thank you all so much for your attendance today. Thank you.
Good luck, Melissa.
Thank
Hang
you
in
so
there.
much. Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks and good luck.
Good luck,
Bye,
Melissa.
everyone.
Thank you. Good meeting.